Greetings, everyone. Well, last time I kind of tore into modern horror movies and how I don't feel they quite hold up to some of the old gems of yesteryear. There is, however, an interesting subgenre of horror that's sprouted up in recent years that, honestly, I think some independent filmmakers are doing some pretty darn interesting things with. It's called cinema verite, essentially fiction made to look like reality. Call it horror movies that look like home movies, but they're anything but. And that's what we're going to talk about today on the Multimedia Chronicles. Welcome back. Well, over the past 10 years or so, there's been quite a few of these so-called cinema verite horror movies, or as I like to call them, horror movies that look like home movies. Not sure what the abbreviation of that would be. Anyway, there's been quite a few of them, ever since one in particular, you know which one it is, took the world by storm. And that was, of course, the Blair Witch Project. Good old Blair Witch. Definitely one of those love it or hate it movies. Generally speaking, it seems the line seems to go like this: Splatterfest modern horror fans hate it because it's another one of those movies that I love, namely one that doesn't really show you anything but leaves a lot of it up to your imagination. Cinema film snobs like me, who love independent film and guerrilla movie making, love it and hailed it as a work of genius. Needless to say, I fall into the latter category. I saw this all by my lonesome in the theater, and I thought it was a lot of fun. Now, a lot of people complained about the shaky camera work and whatnot, but I mean, that's just the nature of the beast. It's the type of, the type of style they were going for, and while that may play better on a small screen than a large screen, it is what it is. It's kind of funny because shortly after this came out, night vision and image stabilization became standard features on consumer camcorders. So I kind of wonder how much different of a movie would Blair Witch have been if they'd done it just 2 years after they did it. Who knows? Kind of, makes you wonder. Anyway, I really enjoyed the Blair Witch Project. I thought it was a lot of fun. In particular, I was really impressed by just the amount of backstory they gave it. Like, if you dive into the extras on the DVD here, there's a faux documentary made to look like it was originally produced in the early 70s. This documentary about witchcraft and stuff like that. It's actually not a real documentary. It just looks like a real documentary. And they created all of this backstory and lore and history. Originally, the intention was, if it did well, they would do several sequels. Well, they did, of course, do one sequel, Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2, which was basically, had some interesting ideas. I do give credit where credit's due. I think the director had a very interesting vision for what he wanted to do with the sequel. But actually, if you listen to the commentary on this, apparently the studio interfered to the point that the final film bears little resemblance to his original cut, let alone his original vision of it. The director's commentary on this is actually quite frank and honest, and really shows just what a difference editing can make, actually. It can make or break a film. I'd really be interested to see his original cut of that, because, as I say, I think it did have some interesting ideas, and I don't think it gets enough credit. But I think a lot of people didn't like it because it was just such a vast departure from the original, and that's understandable. I think most people wanted something more along the lines of this, more uncovered footage of, horrible goings-on in the forests of Burkittsville. But anyway, I really enjoyed this because I thought it was great, just the realistic reactions of the characters and the strange supernatural goings-on that defy logic, but you're in supernatural land, so it doesn't have to follow logic. Like the fact that they go east all day and then end up right back where they started. Well, the reason that happens is because they're in the woods now, and the witch controls the woods. If she doesn't want you to leave, you're not going to leave. And the whole scene at the end with the house, just fantastic. Just an absolutely chilling piece of filmmaking. And if you pay attention to the backstory, like when they're interviewing the townspeople, that ending makes a lot more sense and becomes a lot more chilling because you realize what's going on. And there's clearly some weird supernatural goings on there. So anyway, there you go. Blair Witch. Now, contrary to popular belief, Blair Witch was actually not the first film to be done with that kind of concept. There's been a few over the years. Blair Witch was just the one that did really well because of an absolutely brilliant viral marketing campaign on the internet. I think the first really successful viral internet marketing campaign. So a couple of years prior to the Blair Witch Project, I think it was 96 or 97 actually this one came out, there was another little film called The Last Broadcast, which actually follows a very similar kind of premise. Essentially, in the Last Broadcast, rather than it being a documentary, independent documentary crew going into the forest, in this case, it's a group of filmmakers who do a public access show about the supernatural called Fact or Fiction. And in this particular episode, they're going into the forests of New Jersey to find the Jersey Devil. None of them make it back alive. Something happens to them in the forest, and their footage is discovered. Now here's the catch. Whereas in Blair Witch, the footage was discovered more or less intact, in the Last Broadcast, the footage is discovered beyond all hope of repair. So, the reams of videotape are taken to a special video technician who manages to pull off some information. They manage to get bits and pieces of the footage. And the whole thing is presented essentially as an investigative documentary into the disappearance of the filmmakers, trying to find out what happened. And this is just great. I mean, this one, I think a lot of people who didn't like Blair Witch would probably like The Last Broadcast because it's done in a more pseudo-professional style and has a lot less of the shaky camera work and whatnot. But again, people who love the Blair Witch Project should definitely check out The Last Broadcast because it's another fine example of how to do that style of film in a creative and interesting way. I don't want to say too much about it because there are a lot of twists and turns along the way, and I don't really want to give too much of it away. In fact, I don't want to give any of it away. I want you to track this down, watch it, and be surprised and shocked because the ultimate answer to what happened to the crew is something you would never expect. That's all I'm going to say. Anyway, The Last Broadcast, great stuff, great example of guerrilla filmmaking and the horror movie that looks like a home movie. And contrary to popular belief, Blair Witch did not do it first. These guys did. They just didn't market it as well, I guess, so it didn't take off as much. The DVD's a little bit hard to find. I had to hunt and peck a little while to find it, but this is actually a really nice edition. Comes with this beautiful disc, beautiful artwork on the disc, and then it actually comes with this rather extensive booklet in the form of you got like a comic book and all kinds of information about the making of the movie and stuff like that. And yeah, it's great. Like for just an independent release, obscure movie that hardly anybody's heard of, this is a pretty snazzy edition, I gotta say. Okay, next up, a couple more. Now this one, while some may argue that the Blair Witch was a blatant ripoff of The Last Broadcast, I think it was more of a coincidence that several people had the same kind of idea around the same time. I mean, this was really at the boom of the home video era, with digital camcorders becoming cheaper and cheaper, and it just being a lot more affordable for independent filmmakers to bring their visions to the screen. And we're seeing more and more of that now because, now with digital video editing and so forth, it's cheaper than ever. I mean, you look at back in the 70s and 80s, you had to do it on film. You just had to do it on film. And film's bloody expensive. Okay, so a lot of people say the Blair Witch is a ripoff of The Last Broadcast. I don't think so. I think it's just a coincidence. This one, however, is a blatant ripoff of Blair Witch. This came out the following year. So we had the Blair Witch Project, And then we had the St Francisville Experiment. Now, a lot of people just pass this off immediately as, Blair Witch ripoff. In fact, there's one moment in the movie where one of the characters turns to one of the other characters and asks if they've seen Blair Witch. It seems kind of out of place. It just sort of seems like a little nod to, yep, we're ripping off Blair Witch and we're not ashamed of it. Now, the question is the St. Francisville Experiment any good? Well, basically, think of this as, you know, I talked about the house scene at the end of Blair Witch. Imagine the entire movie took place in the house, okay? Yes, this is a haunted house movie, and I already told you I'm a sucker for haunted house movies. And a haunted house movie done in the style of Blair Witch? Sign me up. I am so there. Again, I had to hunt around a bit to get this one. I don't know why these are so hard to come by, but I heard about it. It was going for collector's prices for a while, lucked out on a deal on eBay, finally got it. And honestly, I really enjoyed this one. I thought, like, as far as, you know, being... I don't see it so much as a Blair Witch ripoff as being inspired by the concept. Because really, this is nothing like Blair Witch at all. It's a completely different type of movie. And there's a lot of little jabs at Blair Witch, at the camera work and stuff like that, and it's all in fun, really. I mean, it's obviously all in fun. The filmmakers of this one were obviously a big fan of Blair Witch, and just kind of wanted to do their own take on the concept. And honestly, I think they did a great job. I think it's a lot of fun. It's a scary movie. It's got some genuinely shocking moments in it. Yeah, I recommend it. If you like this style of filmmaking, and you want to see something a little different, I recommend the St. Francisville Experiment. It's about as bang on, I think, as a haunted house movie done in this style can be. And I really enjoyed it. So, there you go. And finally, getting real recent now. No, it's not Cloverfield. I haven't actually seen Cloverfield yet, although, again, I really like the concept of it, a Godzilla movie from the perspective of the fleeing citizens. You know, I think it's a great idea, and I really want to check that out. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. And then, of course, we have Diary of the Dead, which just came out recently, the new George Romero one. Haven't seen that either. I heard that it kind of messed with the cinema verite concept in ways that weren't particularly pleasing, i.e. putting in a music soundtrack and things like that. You'll notice a lot of these movies don't have music. They'll have music maybe at the beginning and end, but during the actual movie, it plays out like a home movie, and you don't have music throughout it. It just heightens the level of realism, like you're just watching a video of somebody's home movie where all this horrible stuff happened to them. So the one I'm talking about is not Quarantine either, but you're close. It's the one Quarantine was based on. Recording, or REC, or REC, or however the hell you want to pronounce it. The original Spanish version. I've actually not seen Quarantine yet. Annetta and I just rewatched this the other day. She had never seen it before, and I said, you know what, you got to see this movie, because it's really well done, and she likes zombie movies. You know, for someone who's so adverse to horror, it just boggles my mind why she loves zombie movies so much. But anyway, I said, well, you got to see Recording. It's a great, you know, sort of modern take on the zombie genre. Yeah, again, I really enjoyed this one a lot, and I hear there's a sequel in the works, and I can't wait to see it. I really hope it does justice to the original. This was just a great claustrophobic horror movie, which does make use of night vision, which you will know if you've seen the trailers for Quarantine. Quarantine, is, my understanding, is basically a shot-for-shot remake of this. So if you've seen Quarantine, you've essentially seen this. But if you liked Quarantine, you should really check out the original, because it's really quite well done. But yeah, I loved this one. I just thought it was, again, genuinely scary, and you really, I mean, it doesn't waste any time either. I mean, you just get right into the craziness, and it doesn't let up until the end. It's a fairly short movie too. It says it's 89 minutes on the back, but it's actually about 79 minutes. They mistyped that, so closer to 80 minutes. But and it just flies by. I mean, it is such a fast-paced movie that just keeps you on the edge of your seat. And the final, I don't know, 10-15 minutes of this are so frickin' terrifying. I loved it. It was great. I want to see more of that. Okay, so to sum up, horror movies that look like home movies. we've got the Blair Witch Project, of course, the most successful of all of them. The Last Broadcast, which predates the Blair Witch Project by a few years. The St Francisville Experiment, which a lot of people blow off as a blatant ripoff of Blair Witch, but I really liked it. Blair Witch in a Haunted House. There you go. And Recording, the original Spanish film on which Quarantine was based. There's also one other one that actually also predates Blair Witch by about a year. Came out in 1998 and was called Alien Abduction, Incident in Lake County. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's basically a family in a farmhouse in the middle of, you know, farm country who encounters aliens. And it's all done in home movie style. It's like they're having Thanksgiving dinner and they hear noises outside. They go to check it out and they see aliens ripping up some cows. So they go running back in. The aliens start just harassing the hell out of them until finally they all get abducted. I'm really not blowing anything. You know that's where it's going. Again, very, very scary. There's apparently been a couple different cuts of it. There's an earlier version that was done on a shoestring budget, and then like a bigger, you know, more full-length version, which is the version commonly seen. I've not seen the earlier version. I've only seen the final version, I guess you could call it. But again, I really enjoyed that because, once again, it was a novel twist on that idea. Basically, in this case, taking the idea of alien abduction and turning it into something more immediate and real and scary. So I don't have that one on DVD. I just have a burned copy of it because I haven't been able to find it on DVD anywhere. I don't even know if it's officially available, actually. I think it's only been shown on television. Or if it is on DVD, I haven't found it. I'll keep looking. I'll buy it when I find it. But add that one to the list. So, there you go. Ta-da! A worthy addition to our Halloween repertoire. You may notice I haven't been doing the Z ratings for these particular Halloween movie reviews. That's because I don't feel it's necessary. Because I'm already telling you about stuff that I really like, and I figure it's more important to just kind of give you my general impressions of them and some, you know, some info about them rather than giving you Z ratings, because whatever. I might just abandon the Z ratings entirely. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, that's it from me to you for now, so thanks for watching. Until next time, sayonara.